Welcome to the Love Lab Podcast, a safe place to get real about sex. Whether you're a man, woman, single, or couple, this is the show for you. Because, well, sex matters. We are your hosts, Kevin Anthony and Celine Remy.
All right, welcome back to the Love Lab Podcast, and this is episode 44. And it's titled, How Seeing a Sex Coach Could Change Your Life. And, we really wanted to do this episode, not just because, this is the work that we do, but because we realized just how beneficial this could be for people and how many people don't even realize it. It's kind of crazy, and it's true that people will think about getting a coach for a million different things. They'll think about, I should get a coach to work out. I should get a coach to teach me how to eat right. I should get a life coach to teach me how to live life. Like, they think of all these other different places where they realize the value and the benefit of coaching. And then when it comes to their sex life, especially when their sex life is a disaster, they don't think, hey, maybe I should find somebody that could coach me on that too. So we really wanted to talk about that. We're going to get into, what is a sex coach and why would you want to see a sex coach? And then a really big piece of it is how do you speak to your partner about it? Because one of the biggest things that holds people back is they're afraid. So we're going to talk about all of those things in this episode, and it's going to be really awesome and amazing.
And I'm super excited. And when you think of it, when you have a car, you go take it to get its regular maintenance and service, and so that it keeps going for a long time. And I really want to think of our sex life as something like this. There are people out there who know how to deal with cars way better than you do. And they do that all the time, even if you know how to do it. Because like Kevin can do a lot of those things. But I still bring in my car for like maintenance at the garage because I'm like, hey, that's not what he does every day. And it's not like his zone of genius per se. And it's really important to realize that some people have spent their entire life or over decades of their life studying, researching, embodying all of these different things.
That would be you.
Yeah, that'd be me. But I'm not the only one. And we'll talk about that. There's several different models of how people use sex coaching and how it works.
Okay, so let's just dive in.
Okay.
And let's cover what exactly is a sex coach, because it's kind of a broad term. There are a lot of different modalities. So, people are like, well, I don't know, maybe do I need a sex coach? Do I need a sex therapist? Do I need a somatic sex coach? And they're confused about what all those things really mean.
Absolutely. So sex coach, like you said, is a pretty broad term. And really what it means is that it's somebody who is trained professional who helps people with sexual issues. Now, people can claim and they can name themselves, I'm a sex coach. Like, it's just a title you can give to yourself.
It's kind of like people do with life coaching.
Yeah,
they just
absolutely.
decide one day they're a life coach.
And some of them are really good. I don't say like, hey, you have to go through certifications, but sometimes what's good about a certification that it gives you a place to start with. It gives some like credits. It gives a little bit of like a playing field where it's not just, hey, I'm putting things together and constantly inventing things. And so some people are certified. You can go through different certifications, be certified as a sex coach, and some people are not. A sex therapist goes through a different road and a different training. So when you use the word therapy, obviously people usually have gone through longer studyings, went to university, got a degree or different things like that. And therapy has very particular guidelines and of what you can do and can't do. And when it comes to therapy, one of the biggest thing is that people cannot do any hands-on. There is no touch involved in therapy. So it's mostly talking. And I'm not the biggest fan of therapy, and here's why. A lot of my clients tell me that they get much more from one single session with me of 90 minutes than they do in like a whole year to 3 years of therapy with a therapist, because a lot of people that have gone through therapy follow a particular model that's all about talking and diving in deep into your pain, into what's not working, into your childhood. And the more you do that, the more you focus on what's not working. And when we are talking about your sex life and your relationship, that's not really where you want to put your attention on. You want to start to focus on things that are working, on things that you appreciate, if you want things to change.
Yes, and we don't want to make it sound like we're against all therapy. Therapy has its place, and therapy can be extremely beneficial for some people, but there are times when just sitting there talking about it isn't enough.
Exactly. And then the term somatic that you asked about earlier it's a fancy term to say that you work on the level of the body, basically. And there are multiple different ways, and so people like me, I'm trained and certified as a sexological body worker. So technically, I'm a somatic sexologist or sex coach, which means that I can do work hands-on on the body. I can use breathing techniques, breath work, pelvic floor release, and coaching, and a whole plethora of modalities to help my clients on the physical level through tools that they can use within themselves and within their own bodies.
Yeah, and as we talked about when we had our guest Rahi Chun on, who also does this type of work, so much of the trauma and the issues literally are held in our physical body.
Absolutely.
And that by helping people release these things from the physical body, you're actually helping them release them from the mental, emotional body as well. And so that's why sometimes talking just isn't enough. Talking doesn't get those things out.
Yeah. And then one more clarification. Some people go by the term of somatic sex educator. That's another one. And so sex education, we kind of all get it, but it takes it to the next level. It's way more in depth than what you got when you were in school. And it's definitely about empowering individuals to really step fully into their full sexual expression. And if you add again the word somatic, again, it implies most likely that there will be involvement of the body. It doesn't always mean that there's touch given by the practitioner, but it means that we work on the level of the body through practices that unlock the body's wisdom.
Yeah, and I think it's important also to mention that, especially with men, a lot of the work is re-educating their body, teaching them how to reuse or how to use their physical body, or sort of reteaching them how to use their physical body so that it performs properly. And you can sit there all day long and talk to your personal trainer, and he can tell you all about, so this is the way you do a bicep curl, and here's how you do squats, and you're going to do 10 of them, and you're going to do that. But until you get off your ass and actually work in the gym, you're not going to get any benefit. And so it's very similar, especially when working with men, when we're trying to help men with erection difficulties or premature ejaculation or any of these things. You could talk about it all day long, but until you teach them how to use their body properly, you're not going to get that far.
And it's interesting that you're saying men, because I actually want to say that I see that across all gender, and I see women struggling a lot with also their bodies, body image, shame, guilt, and inability to achieve certain standards when it comes to orgasm. But I also see that the way that our society is geared, where we are solely always focused on going places, and we constantly have notifications and things that are competing for our attention, and we're bombarded. We have a very short attention span that makes it really difficult for people to have a fulfilling sex lives, because they can't focus anymore, or they just want to get there and be done. And that really quick experience is not fulfilling on a deep level.
Yeah, and some of it's definitely society and how society sort of trains us. And a lot of it is people were just never taught properly from the beginning. They never learned. Their parents didn't know, or they were too embarrassed or ashamed to talk to them about it. The bit of education they did get came from poor sources like bad pornography and bad information from friends who themselves didn't know what they were doing. So there's a lot of re-education that has to happen in this process. So that's a perfect segue into the next question, which is, okay, so now that you understand some of the different modalities and sort of, what a sex coach is, what that term means, why would you want to go see a sex coach?
So obviously, if you've got issues, right, if your body is not working the way you want, if, like Kevin mentioned earlier, if you have erection difficulty, if you can't last as long as you want, if you can't orgasm, or if you have pain, discomfort during intercourse, if you experience vaginal dryness, if you have delayed ejaculation, if you have anything that makes it that sex is not as great as you know it could be, right? But it doesn't have to just be because you have an issue. It could also be like, wow, this is how I've always done things, and I'm still having sex the same way that I did when I started having sex when I was 15. And here I am 20 years down the road, and I'm married and I've got 2 kids, and it's just really nothing is different.
If you're a grown adult and you're still having sex like you're a teenager, you are doing it wrong. Trust me. Trust me. Well, and I love that you make that distinction, though, all joking aside, because, there's, like we've developed programs like Master Your Ejaculation and Power Up Your Erections designed to specifically help with problems that people have. But then there's also the courses like Sexual Mastery, which is designed to take it to the next level. So the beautiful thing is, and the point that I want to just sort of emphasize that you just brought up, is that, it's not just because you have something wrong. It might just be that you want to get better at it. I mean, if you take the analogy of musicians, a lot of people think that professional musicians don't take lessons. Well, they're professional. They're getting paid millions of dollars to travel around the world and play music. But almost every great professional musician still takes lessons from other great musicians.
Absolutely.
Because there's always something to learn. Literally, there's always something. You could be the greatest blues guitarist ever, and you might be taking lessons with a jazz great who's teaching you all these amazing jazz scales and things that you didn't really know.
Yes. And one thing that I love about sexuality, so I have been studying like sexuality and relationships for like over 16 years now. And I have yet to come to a place of, oh, I know it all. I still learn new things with my own body. I still learn new things from our lovemaking, where sometimes we touch new places, we learn something new. I still read great books. I read books all the time. And here's the thing, if you're wondering, hey, what should I do? I have, if you go to my website, CelineRemy.com, and go and sign up for the Sex Vault, which we mentioned about in every episode, you'll get my list of my favorite books. So you'll have a place to start. So even and I know a lot, and I've been immersed in it for a long time, I still find great books. I still find inspiration. I still get like new informations and ideas that come through. And not just that, I also read some of the books that I loved, because I have noticed that doing the same thing over and over again, not just from a place of insanity with no new consciousness, but from a place of a new understanding, I understand or see the teachings through a different lens and a different light. And suddenly it's like a brand new teaching. And so there's even value in repeating something. And when I work with clients, we do that a lot. Like sometimes sessions will be similar in what they look like, but the experience is very different because we come from a different angle or we have a different understanding.
Yeah. And by the way, the Sex Vault is totally free.
Yes.
It doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is put in your email.
And we send you lots of love and juicy information. Sometimes it will be just me. Sometimes it will be Kevin. You'll get lots of things to get hotter sex, more orgasm, and just more passion in your relationship.
It's great free information that will improve your life. So there's lots of reasons then why somebody might see a sex coach. It might be that they're having an issue. It might be that they want to improve their skills.
Yes.
It might be they're just looking for something new and different.
Yeah, they're curious. They know there's something more.
Yeah. So somebody decides that they want to see a sex coach. Now, obviously, if you're single, it's pretty simple, right? You've decided you want to see a sex coach. You just go make an appointment with a sex coach. Not too difficult.
You enter sex coach in your search engine in my area, and you see who comes up, and then you just, find whoever you feel. I was going to say attracted to, and by attraction, I don't mean sexual attraction. I feel like a resonance.
Yeah, who you resonate with.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody that you go on their site and like, yeah. Or you listen to their videos or read their blogs and like, this person speaks my language. I want to learn from that person.
And, with certain things, depending on exactly what it is, you can always work remotely too. So it doesn't always have to be somebody in your area. If you've identified an expert that you really resonate with, somebody that you're like, they're speaking my language. When I read their website, it's like, yes, this is the person I want to work with. You can work remotely. Or if you do want to see them in person, you have clients that fly in from all over the country.
Even like from Canada, from not this country, crazy.
Mexico, Canada, all over the U.S.
Yes, that's true.
So you can always come and work in person that way. And again, obviously, because this is the work that we do, we would love to work with you if you feel that you resonate with us. But there are other great people out there too that do similar work. And if you resonate more with them, then go check them out.
It's like hairdressers. There's lots of them, and some of them are better than others. But just because one is great doesn't mean there's no other great ones. So.
Exactly. All right. So they've decided now that they want to see a sex coach and they're not single, right? Because we've determined that being single is easy. Just go make an appointment. But if you're not single, then you have to consider your partner and how they might feel about this, and whether or not they want to do the work with you, which is always preferred. How does somebody go about speaking to their partner about the idea of going to see a sex coach?
Yes, so we're going to share our 3-step formula for that. But before we do this, I think you need to first be really clear. What are your agreements with your partner? Like, where do you stand? In terms of do you guys share everything with one another? Do you guys have free reins and can do whatever you want? Because that will affect also what you do, right? And sometimes people have a dilemma that they really want to learn and grow on this particular area in their life. And yet their partner may not be supportive in doing the work with them. And if that's the case, I said, don't let that stop you. Do whatever is in integrity with your relationship and with yourself. But hey, you can still read a book. You can still work remotely with somebody. You could still take an online course, all of these things. Because you can't just wait for your partner to finally be willing to change or follow you on something. Sometimes you have to be the trailblazer, right? The one who's let me show you. Let me take this light and show the path. And sometimes you have to be the brave one that's willing to move through the shame, the guilt, the difficulty. And sometimes you're more ready than your partner. And so, I just kind of wanted to say that even if you are in a coupleship, we don't always grow at the same time. But it's not a reason to stop your own growth.
That's a very important point.
It really is. It really is. It ultimately is, when I work with people, especially people that are in relationship, my absolute favorite is to have full disclosure, integrity. Everybody knows what's going on. Not that we disclose everything that happens in sessions. I always let my clients do that, but I'm open to speaking to their partner on the phone and different things like that, because I think that's how you get the best results, right? But it's not always the case. And what I always think about is what's going to serve the relationship best. The fact that I can help and support somebody who's going to grow in their sexuality and then bring these skills back to their relationship, which in turn is going to make them better lovers, better partners, and foster greater intimacy, then to me it is a win. Yeah. So let's get into those 3 steps, right? So you've decided that your relationship is in a good place and you've got a good foundation of communication. You're like, how do we do that, right? I want to talk to my partner. So first of all, I want you to become clear about your intention when it comes to seeing a sex coach and, like dive in a little bit, like, why a little bit.
The why is the big thing, and make sure that you have a good why.
Yeah, not just like, oh, I just want to be a better lover. Like, I mean, like things like, I want to be able to pleasure you more. I want to see you have orgasm. I want to experience heightened states of pleasure.
Yeah, so like maybe some things to avoid, especially if you're a guy and you're looking for a sex coach who happens to be a woman. Like a good why is not, well, because she's really hot and it would be kind of fun. Like that's not really a good why. A good why is because, hey, our sex life is great in these ways, but maybe there's this other way that we can improve. Mm-hmm. And maybe if we do this, we can develop more intimacy, or maybe we can take our sex life to the next level. Or, maybe you're in a position where you're like, we only have sex a couple times a year, and when we do, you can't get it up. And so, you can go to your partner and you say, look, if we do this, if we embark on this journey, look what we could achieve.
Mm-hmm. So, but hold on, you want to have all 3 steps before you say that,
that's
right?
why I didn't take that one any further.
Okay, good. So then you want to focus on your own relationship and find what are the things you appreciate in your relationship. Because again, we're not just focusing on the problems, on the issues, on what you want to change, but there are things that work. Maybe there's none in the sex life, but there are things that are working. Maybe you're a great team, maybe you're like great parents, there's so many different things, right?
Yeah, and so the idea is not to go to your partner with just complaints, right? Not to say, okay, this isn't working and our sex life sucks and we need to go see a sex coach. That's not your best bet for having that discussion. In turn, focus on the things that really are working. Hey, we really love each other. And we're really dedicated and we're like best friends. And
we can communicate well. We can tell each other anything.
Yeah. And there's this one part that could be improved. Mm-hmm. And if we do that, we might see a huge benefit.
The third thing that I want you to focus on is I want you to have a clear picture in your mind of what your life looked like after working with a sex coach. And here's the thing. If you set a goal, but you don't really know when you'll reach that goal, how do you know you got there? Right? And so that's when this comes in handy. Like if you can put numbers, I have that's one of the first questions that I ask most of my male clients. Like, how long would you like to last when you're having penetration sex? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 20 minutes? Is it 45 minutes? Is it 3 hours? Like putting a number to that. If you're a female and you're like, hey, I'm able to orgasms, like using my hands, or like when I'm with my partners, or it could be like, now we're able to ask for what we want in the bedroom and it becomes juicy and hot. Have some really clear example of things that could happen and know that this is always this or something better, because it's hard to imagine what we don't know.
Yeah, and this is classic goal setting, right? This is stuff that Tony Robbins and so many other people teach about. Your goals have to be specific.
Yes.
And they have to be quantifiable.
Exactly.
So just keep that in mind when you're making a goal for what it is you want to accomplish when you see a sex coach.
Mm-hmm. So then you put it all together. So these are the 3 steps that you need to know first. Okay, so this is introspective work that you do on your own. You might write it down, record it, whatever you need to get the clarity. Then you create what I call the sandwich. And here's what it looks like. First of all, you need to make an appointment with your partner, right? To talk about important things. But like, we got that, it's done, you got it out of the way. So you're standing in front of each other. First thing you're doing, you start with things you appreciate about the relationship. So you start by saying nice things. That feels really good. That opens our heart. That's like, okay, this is good foreplay. Good primer there. Then you put why you want to see a sex coach. And that's kind of like the meat part of the sandwich, right? If the first part, the appreciation, was the bread, now this is like that's what you eat in the middle, like why. And that could be, that's when you bring up the things that are a little difficult, right? And then third, you end up with that second slice of bread there. And that's the vision of the positive future of the version of the two of you, right? And so it's like you started with appreciation. You brought up, well, what's not working. And then you end up with this grand vision for your relationship.
Yeah. So I would also add in there that if you make your partner feel really safe, that this isn't going to negatively affect the relationship, that this isn't about wanting to, have a threesome necessarily with somebody else, or that it's not going to threaten the relationship in any way, you're likely to get much better results. And so you can kind of mix that in with the 3-step process, which is start with all the things that you appreciate, all the things that you love. If you're a guy and you're speaking to your woman, let her know in step 1 that you are dedicated to the relationship. And that's why you want to do this.
And that there's nobody else. She's the love of your life. And you want to worship her or give her the pleasure she deserves.
Yeah, and that things may not be currently exactly the way you want them, but you're not willing to give up, and that you're willing to put in the work and to do it and to make things better.
If you're a woman, it could be like, hey, I've never been taught how to use my body. I've never been taught how to love myself. And this is not something that your partner can give to you. This is a journey that you have to take on your own. And like being like, wow, I'm willing to finally do these steps to know myself, to know my body, so that I can guide you better when we're in the bedroom. Like these are really cool. And like if the two of you are knowing like, hey, we love each other, everything's great, but sex, like let's learn those things together. Let's learn right away. Like let's shortcut the learning curve, because you can get there on your own. Like you don't need somebody else. But boy, is it nice to have somebody else to show you what to do first and how to shorten the learning curve so you can get positive results way sooner.
Yeah, and also don't make it about the other person and their shortcomings. Even if you're a woman and the big problem that you're having is that your man is a premature ejaculator, don't make it about him being a premature ejaculator. Don't be like, we need to go see a sex coach because you can't hold your ejaculation. No. Totally wrong.
Yes.
Make it about the two of you, increasing the intimacy, creating deeper connection through enhanced lovemaking. Like, don't get into a sort of blaming, shaming area of you need to fix this or that. Just talk about the benefits for both of you and how this is going to shift your whole life, your whole relationship, everything.
Yeah. And then, like once this is laid down, the discussion is happening, then you can start to see what are people comfortable with. Is that something we want to do together? Is that something that I just want you to go do on your own? Am I comfortable with you working with somebody hands-on? Or do I prefer you just like work with somebody who guides you? Sometimes I like to say when I do sex coaching, because I work with a lot of people remotely as well. So it's kind of like driver's ed. I get on Skype or Zoom with my clients, and then I'm like telling you, turn right, turn left, slow down, speed up. Look over there, look in the mirror, and it's like, are you comfortable with your partner just doing this in front of somebody? Like what are the places that feel, yeah, this is okay, or like this is not, and then you can find that sweet spot for the two of you.
Yeah, and there are both male and female practitioners. There are sex coaches who are both male and female. And if you're not comfortable with your partner seeing one particular gender, then find a coach of the other gender.
Absolutely.
Take the trigger out of it.
Exactly. Well, sexuality is such an important part of our life. It's really deep work in that it's something that everybody should be doing at some point in their life. Sexual healing brings forth so many it opens so much doors, and it affects so many areas in your life. Sometimes people are surprised when they come in through the sexuality door thinking, hey, I'm just here to better my sex life. And then ultimately, some of my clients stopped drinking. Some of my clients lost weight. Some of my clients quit their job and opened up their own private practice. Some of my clients got married. Some of my clients divorced. Like, this is huge things, right? You never know what's going to happen. But what I know is that it is utterly powerful. And there is such ripple effects that happen when you start to address your sex life. And when you start to unleash your sexual energy, you suddenly feel so much more alive and passionate and connected and juiced up. And who doesn't want that?
Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't want that? And if you ever ask the question why in so many aspects of our life is sex suppressed, that's exactly why. Because if you really tap into it, it is that powerful.
Wow. And we're going to have another episode for you where we're going to talk about tantric sex and all the benefits of like really deep, sacred sex. So you'll learn more about that soon. So stay tuned for that.
That one's going to be really juicy.
I know, I can't wait about this. But we had to lay it on the ground for you first to be like, okay, we give you permission to not work on your sex life, but to go for the sex life that you want, to revitalize your love life, to say yes to hotter sex and orgasms and connection and intimacy.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody. That's all the time we have on this episode, and we will see you next week.
We hope you liked this episode of the Love Lab podcast. If you enjoyed this show, leave a comment and share it with your friends.
And if you want more, we have an entire digital library with the best sex tips and relationship advice at CelineRemy.com. That's CelineRemy.com. So join us in the Sex Vault to continue this adventure.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, you're amazing.